Bedford Township Board meeting, May 20th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Hobbins, would you lead us in prayer?
Let's pray. Father, thank you for the freedom that we have to meet together. Pray that you would bless this meeting, give each leader wisdom. Bless our township, Father. Our desire is that what we would do would be that which you find honoring and pleasing. I pray that you'd help us with that. You know that we're imperfect people and we need you. This is our acknowledgement of our need for you, and we ask your blessing now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you for your time. Next, we have approval of the agenda. I would like to add to the agenda 8G under new business, which will be closing of the township hall. I need a motion.
Make a motion to approve tonight's agenda as amended.
Support. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Hirschberger, would you take the roll?
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries.
Al, real quick, when was that again? It's Friday?
This Friday.
Okay.
Test. Okay. Next, we have presentations. Monroe County Sheriff's Department. I'm sorry, jumping ahead here. Consent agenda. Agenda committee recommends to approve and place on file A, minutes from the May 6, 2025 regular meeting of the Bedford Township Board. B, general savings, pooled funds, and CD reports from the treasurer for April 20, 2025. C, balance sheet and revenue expense report for the period ending April 30th, 2025, except with the regret the resignation of Greg Robertson from the Bedford Township Fire Department. Can I get a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Support. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Hirschberger, would you please take the roll?
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries. Now we can go on to presentations. Monroe County Sheriff's Department.
Good evening, Joe Hammond with the Sheriff's Office. Once again, you have your stats for the month of April in your packets. Nothing was outside of what we expected to see or what we normally see in terms of numbers for that. Speed sign data was once again at 90% plus in terms of being within the posted speed limit. There is nothing in the month of April that occurred that was kind of outside the norm, or I guess newsworthy within the township. So if you have any questions, I'm open for those.
Any discussion?
Anything we can pass along?
Appreciate what you do.
All right.
So,
We thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Next we have public comment, don't we? Somebody. Next will be public comment. Comments limited to 5 minutes for board agenda items only. I just want to remind everybody this is not a public hearing. So in terms, everybody is allowed to speak your 5 minutes. However, we've had a lot of letters in terms of getting the sentiment of both the issues that are out there, the one on Sequoia Road and Samaria. So, but when you approach, please give your name, your address, and we'll go from there. If you just want to get up and you agree with everybody, there's nothing wrong with just getting up there and saying, I agree with what somebody else has said or whatever. So, but everybody does have a right. So do we have any public comment?
Ken Weaver, 3218 Deer Creek Drive, Lambertville. My issue is with the rezoning of Secor. There's 3 comments I'd like to make. 2 words right off the bat is traffic and trash. I pick up that property along with neighbors, have for 11 years, from some section all the way up to Quail Hollow, and we get our share of McDonald's, Burger King, Dunkin' Donut. Oh, not yet. So we have all of those issues that are really quite onerous, I think. And I don't really think the people of Bedford Township are interested in having Secor Road look like Lasky Road, look like Alexis Road at some point in the future. Because once the approval is hopefully denied, that would be my wishes. But once it's approved, the camel's nose is under the tent. And the issue is not really about Dunkin' Donut or Brody's Hot Dog. The issue is zoning. When people move into a particular area, they expect stability in zoning. They expect that if there's not something zoned that would be detrimental to them and their families, they expect that to continue. At least I have. So stability of zoning, I think, is a very important issue. And the last point I'd like to make is that the township's engineers have issued a report, and their report is pretty much in agreement with what I suspect, or what I would agree with, inconsistency with the township's master plan. If a master plan can be changed at the drop of a hat, what's the point? We did that from like 1883 up, or whatever township was formerly put together. Adverse impact of nearby residential use, lack of property land use transition, negative traffic impact, which is obvious, and there is sufficient commercial zoned land in that area, right in front of Tractor Supply. It doesn't jump out at you, but it's right there. On the north side of Tractor Supply and Stearns Road. May not be the exact location for a drive-through. That would be perfect, but it is, I believe, zoned to handle that kind of a situation. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Keep in mind, this comment period is for agenda items only.
Gail Kane, Temperance. I want to address multiple concerns under number 8, and 5 minutes is certainly not enough time for items of this magnitude that are on the agenda. The library issue, $42,000 seems excessive. The biggest concern is that I know what they want to do. It was what was not in the packets that was on the computer, at least available to me, to really understand fully the $42,000. So I'm not going to speak to anything regarding that, just the fact that it would be nice to have a little bit more on the memo maybe. Secor Road, I understand, but I'm mixed on this. The big concern is that these guys were not welcomed by other businesses. And most disturbing was that no one was handing out the olive branch to assist this company in an effort as has been seen in the past for others. 4 of the 5 reasons were basically false. There are not plenty of other areas for this company because that's what he wanted. That's what they wanted. The people have a right to sell, and they have a right to seek the type of business environment that they want to have. There was offended comments made in the past at some of the other hearings that area over there is nothing but a Toledo subdivision, and that's what they want to keep it as. Well, whose fault is all that? Samaria, when Ms. Fortin embellishes her vision and it takes priority over the Planning Commission's recommendation for a denial, this is the one on Samaria, parking is not sufficient for today's families. And we did those overlays back in 2005. So, and the conversion apparently was attempted prior to the township even knowing that this was going to be taking place. So this seems kind of odd. So the other thing is that seems the Secor residents have a say, and the Samaria residents don't have as much weight, because that area, if you went and looked, as you should have, as having to vote on this, It should be to rezone as a change in that use. And it really is not a good thing to shove that in there, in that exact area. There are other places where a duplex could be put in. The CIP should have been pulled. It shouldn't be on the agenda with everything else tonight. I have a grave concern when you read the minutes. Planning didn't seem to have time to really pursue the issues with the parks. They had to match that hearing in order to get to the budget hearing in time, and yet in the parks, they are removing 2026 projects to enable the pickleball courts that were not even on the list to get done. That idea was presented last year. You'll read in the minutes that Mr. Miller states that not enough money has been set aside for that fund. And in the paragraph by Mr. Miller is very intriguing to the entire process. Basically, I think there should be a full cow meeting with public input before approval of this CIP. It's a fantastic idea, but it just, I don't know, in reading this, there's just some really, really big concerns as to how it's happening, and the parks are actually going to have to tear down the gazebos to get rid of the money on that end to enable some of the others to get their wishes. Kind of sounds like the ARPA fund all over again, and that was way too heavy with the needs and the private wishes of the full-time staff. So it should be stuff that's done more so for the public and not just one particular group. That's all I have. Thank you for your job.
Further comments?
Anthony Rundle, 3233 Ravine Hollow Court, Lambertville, in the Deer Run condominium community. We, as a whole, our community is opposed to the Secor rezoning, mainly because of traffic. Secor Road is very difficult to turn left on now, and if you add a commercial building there, we believe it's going to be even worse. And I have two other letters from people that couldn't attend tonight that live in our community, as well as these two people that are here. Would you like me to just submit these or read them or what?
If you want to submit them, that'd be fine.
Okay, that's all I have.
I can probably guess what's in them.
Yeah, they're opposed.
Yeah. Further comment?
My name is Kent Goldsmith. I live at 1465 West Samaria. I live behind the church. I also own the church, almost directly across the street from 1430. Me, as with all the other residents from Samaria who are here tonight, oppose the idea of turning in a single-family dwelling into a dual-family dwelling and making it a possible duplex. We have many concerns with that. I know that she mentioned the parking, which is a huge concern. It's not fit for that. We've had multiple problems when the contractors were there. There's a bus stop there. There's many kids and children that get on the bus right there, 6 or 7 that I know of, that I know their parents, and they get on there, and the contractors were parked right there, obstructing the view of traffic incoming. We already have a problem with speeding in Samaria. It's 40 miles an hour. It's a huge issue for us, especially with our kids that are going to be playing. And as you all know, anyone who's been through Samaria, the houses are very close to the road. So you have that going on. It's not fit for parking there. Samaria, to my knowledge, I've been there for 4 years now. It's a wonderful community. We're very close-knit. Everyone looks after their homes. Almost every one of us are homeowners, not a ton of renters. And almost every house in Samaria is a single-family dwelling. Okay, so bringing in a duplex into a situation like this, it's going to cluster it even more. And we already have a problem with that. The houses sit on top of each other, and we're right on top of the road. So our main concern as a community is safety, big time. And we just don't see how a dual family is going to fit there, even in the parking. I mean, a regular family has 2 to 3 cars per family, and there's hardly 2 spots there to even park. And not to mention the fact that the guy who did buy it, who's probably a wonderful gentleman, but he did start all the construction on this thing and to turn it into a duplex before we even got to this point, which kind of stirred up the community and is a huge reason for all of us to be here tonight. to contest that. So we want to keep our community as safe as possible and continue to have the nice community that we do. So I oppose that very strongly. Thank you.
My name is James Ladd. I live at 10606 Brunt Street, Samaria, Michigan. I grew up across the street on Porter Street from this building. At that time, it was used as a Grange Hall. I'm very much opposed to it being a duplex. I don't know how, when they did the village overlay, that they could say it could be a three-family or a single residence. But as Kenny Weaver said, you know, he mentioned about you expect zoning to be stable, and as far as I knew, that was kind of pushed into a single family building. It's really not a regular house, you know, but having we don't have the parking for it, and I stood at that bus stop when I was a kid, and I wouldn't want them kids to, they're going to be cars parked on Porter Street because there isn't enough room. Most families have 2+ cars. And I just want to say I'm very much opposed to it. And I'd like to keep Samaria primarily a single family dwelling. I can't do nothing about it being a rental, but I'd sure like to keep it single family. That's all I got. Thank you.
Hi, Justin Merkfa, 3261 Ravine Hollow Court. That's the Deer Run condominiums. So I want to just speak briefly on the C-Court rezoning, just to state that we definitely oppose that rezoning, for all of the reasons that have already been put forward. A couple that are of particular concern would be traffic. That area is a traffic bottleneck, the transition to 2 lanes, and this would be right at that transition, so that would make the problem significantly worse. There's also a significant increase in noise and light pollution from commercial development like that. That's something that would definitely affect the area. And the fact that there are other nearby commercial areas that are already zoned correctly, to me that is one of the biggest things to consider. So, you know, we definitely don't oppose Dunkin' Donuts, but that area is not suitable for it, and you know, like I said, there are other areas. So we agree with all of the points that were made in that preliminary study, which really confirms those points. So, thank you.
My name's Richard Cooper. I live at 10618 Porter Street, the same house Jim grew up in as a kid. I now raise my family there. We bought a house in Samaria. It's a single-family neighborhood. That's what we wanted. You know, we're really close to that building. We don't want a duplex there. My kid's staying on the corner there. There's still wires hanging down from the poles there, from the construction. The construction was a disaster. I don't know how many tires I went through on my truck. They were pretty disrespectful when they were renovating it. There's just not enough room there for a duplex. We don't want to live next to a duplex. We don't want to deal with the people in and out of the duplex all the time. You know, that's not why we bought a house in Samaria. You know, that's not what attracted us there. So, and that's all I got to say. Thanks.
My name is Carl Porter. I live at 1432 North Street. I've lived on the street between Porter and North Street both for 65 years. I agree with everything that's been said here tonight. I fully oppose it. Just traffic up and down the street from more cars backing out into the street with no room. I'm just fully opposed to it. Like I say, I appreciate your time tonight, and thank you.
Hi, my name is Steve Lynn Chismar. I own the home at 10618 Porter Street. I oppose the house on Samaria being turned into a duplex. Like we said, there's no room for it. Yeah, we all oppose. Sorry. Thanks.
My name is Martha McKenzie. I live at 1422 Samaria Road, Samaria, Michigan, directly next to the proposed duplex. Even when it was a single-family dwelling, there were problems with issues. I had problems with my fence being damaged by cars, people parking in my yard, and making a duplex would just further exacerbate it. So I agree with everything my friends have said. Thank you.
Hello, I'm John Wright, 3135 Deer Creek in Lambertville, and I echo what's been said tonight and at the prior meetings, but the one thing I wanted to amplify just a little bit, we all know about the traffic. The traffic is great on Secor. Ken Weaver touched on the litter that occurs on Secor between Section Road up on to Quail Hollow. I don't know if you've noticed it in the winter. Last winter, it was horrendous. And I participated with Ken and some other neighbors on Deer Creek as far as cleaning it up, and you would be shocked at the amount of litter we find and the type of litter that we find as well. And this is the gateway, or Secor is one of the gateways into Bedford Township, and you don't want it to look like a dump. And my concern would be that if we have additional commercial like that is proposed, it just stands to reason you're going to have additional litter. You've got more businesses there that are selling products that we find a lot in the litter, that it would increase. And so for that reason and for the other reasons that have been mentioned, I too oppose that request.
Any further comments? Okay. We'll be moving on. Under new business, we have no staff reports, no unfinished business, new business. Ms. Hirschberger, vouchers for payment.
I'd like to make a motion that the following vouchers be approved for payment. General Fund, $88,819.99. Fire Fund, $24,177.65. Fire Equipment, $5,322.43. Downtown Development Authority, $987.37. Library Fund, $885.70. American Rescue Plan, $296,772.41. Building Department, $4,494. Sewer O&M Fund, $428,919.63. Trust and Agency Fund, $1,777.85, for a grand total of $852,157.03.
Support.
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Janasek?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye. Motion carries. 8B, approve recommendation from the Bedford Township Planning Commission to accept the CIP as presented.
Microphone.
6, sorry. For fiscal year 2026. I get a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the recommendation for the Bedford Township Planning Commission to accept the CIP as presented.
Support.
Any further discussion?
Quick question, just about the process. So the CIP plan for the park board comes up with a recommendation, then they give it to the planning commission, and the planning commission can say yes or no, ABC, or how does that work?
Mm-hmm.
Like, ultimately, it comes down to us, but how much of a role does the planning commission play in coming up with the parks?
Well, statutorily, the planning commission is the one who handles the CIP. And the reason why you have a CIP plan is because you have a sewer plan. If we didn't have a sewer plant, you wouldn't have to have a capital improvement plan. So what happens is through the process is that every department sits down and says, okay, what are your capital needs? It's just not about parks. It's about the maintenance department, whether it's trucks, it could be computers. It could be a lot of different things. So that information is all compiled. Then it goes to the planning department. Then they take a look at it. Okay, so then they go ahead and say, yeah, we think this is good, or they could come along and say, no, I don't think we're going to put that much money aside or whatever. So there's discussions there. And then once it goes through the planning, then that's when it comes to us. So again, the capital improvement plan, it's just what it states. It is a plan, but it's also a living document that can change. We might not need as much money. We might set aside $100,000 for dump trucks and come along and say, you know what, we only need $50,000. We don't need the other 50. We could put that somewhere else. So, and when we take a look at structures, we just don't pull things out of the air of saying, yeah, okay, let's just go replace this, or we think we want to, for example, it was brought up with the gazebos. Gazebos are bad. I can go over there and they'll push and so on. So we inspect that, and then we say, okay, what's the life of that gazebo? What is the life of a playscape? For example, playscapes are, $500,000 to $700,000. Well, they only have a life of about 20 to 25 years. We have to take a look. How do we replace that so that the public can use a playscape? I had to shut down the pavilion at Carr Park. Okay, if we had a capital plan some years back, we would have had that money today to say, okay, we're ready to go either to repair it or to replace it. So, in terms of that process, it's moving, but it's very extensive on what we go through and taking a look at everything. So.
No, I appreciate it. I just want that information.
So that's kind of how everything flows, and it's constantly being looked at, too. So, okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out who made the second, because I heard.
I did. But I do want to add, I did not add, but I want to put in there for fiscal year 2026 budget. I didn't add that in my motion.
Any further discussion? Ms. Hirschberger, please take the roll.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Janasek?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Aye. Motion carries. We're on to 8C. Request to rezone from R-3/SVOD single-family residential to RT/SVOD two-family residential located within the Samaria Village Overlay District on parcel number 5802-510-001-00, located on the west side of Porter Street, north side of West Samaria Road, otherwise known as 1430 West Samaria Road, Temperance, Michigan, zip code 48182.
Me take it?
Yep.
Yeah, so we got a single-family home at the corner of Samaria and Porter. The applicant would like to turn into a duplex, split between the upper level and lower level. And He's got his plans and everything. Obviously, the Planning Commission recommended to deny this rezoning. I think specifically was due to the concern of parking, but I don't know if anybody has any other questions, or if the applicant wants to come up.
Is the owner here?
Applicant's here.
Hi, Lawrence Meyer. Address 6403 Millbrook Road, Maumee, Ohio. Owner of 1430 West Samaria Road. I put in a request to change the zoning from a single family to a duplex. An engineering study was done with the recommendation. All the specifications for the building met the requirements. That included the parking. There was a lot of concern based on the township meetings up here about the bus stop, the safety, and the way I'm looking at it is the current bus stop location. There appears to be some flaws. They're saying there's a lot of speeding on Samaria Road that makes it unsafe. Also, the number of students that get on the bus stop on that corner impede the ability of people turning right from Porter to Samaria. That has absolutely nothing to do with the house in question, the rezoning request. If it's unsafe currently, maybe it should be considered about relocating the bus stop location. The property itself, it is aesthetically, there's been improvements made to the property, new siding, and such, has improved the appearance of the property, and I think it also helped the appearance of the overall location on that corner. I made the motion, made the request to get it into a duplex, and if there's any questions for me, I can try to answer them.
Joe?
Did you start this project before you went to planning or anything else?
The work that was done was not changing it from a single family to a duplex.
Didn't start anything?
The upstairs was undeveloped. It was just open space. In all honesty, it used to be a marijuana grow house, if you want to know what it was used for. And I guess, we took that watering type debris out of there and got rid of a lot of stuff out of the house. And some, it's not, there was already
converting it before.
It was not converted, no.
Did you start?
There was nothing started to make it a duplex. It was already a separate entrance going up. There was no changes, no walls taken down inside the house or anything like that.
But did you request 2 socket meters for electricity?
That was a miscommunication by the contractor when he had his subcontractor put them on there, and they never got hooked up.
And what's on there now?
Right now, nothing's hooked up.
Okay. The other
Is
question.
there 2 meters there?
They're not hooked up.
That's answer my question.
There's 2 meters there, yes.
There's 2 meters there.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, I asked you a direct question. Just don't beat around the bush.
Yes.
This is not Maumee, Ohio, or anything like that.
Yes.
Okay. I'm ready to put a motion,
I'm
but
ready
I'll
to-
wait.
let's
I'm
just
ready.
deny this right now.
Yeah. This is done. But I do have a question for Phil. What is the next process if it's denied here? Can he appeal to circuit court?
Not appeal. This is a zoning decision by the legislative body, which is you. They would have to file a new lawsuit in Monroe County Circuit Court, but there's no appeal process available. So they could file a lawsuit if they chose. So if the board is inclined to follow the recommendation of the Planning Commission, which was to deny the rezoning request, I would ask you to look at the meeting minutes from the Planning Commission and incorporate those reasons into the motion if that's your inclination. And I'd also like to just point out a couple of things. We have 3 overlay districts in Bedford Township: Lambertville, Temperance, and Samaria. And the Lambertville and the Temperance overlay districts took off because there was a vision for commercial use that could live harmoniously with the residential uses that were there. The overlay district in the village of Samaria, what I would call the village of Samaria, never took off because that has always been primarily single-family residential dwelling units. There's virtually no commercial development within the overlay district. As a matter of fact, I know Jody's here, and as our planning commission goes through the process of looking at our master land use plan, I think it would be good planning process to look at the Samaria Village Overlay District and maybe even eliminate it because the vision that was had years ago has not developed. It has stayed consistently single-family residential, and I think there's a legitimate reason for that, and it's been stated by some of the residents that the homes that are there have been there for years, and they're in very close proximity to one another. So that's the history of the overlay district. And with all due respect to our planning consultant, master land use plan is a guide. Until it's converted, it's just a guide. So consistency with a master land use plan does not handcuff this board in making zoning decisions. So you need to take that into consideration as well. Compatibility with the surrounding development, again, is single-family residential primarily. Infrastructure availability, the infrastructure relating to roads and parking is very limited within that village center. So those are things that you can take into consideration. And I would note for the record that the Planning Commission, in making its recommendation to this board, and I'll just read it for you, a motion was made to deny the rezoning request due to public health, safety, and welfare concerns. That's important. Concerns with sufficient parking on the subject property, and that a duplex does not fit the character of the area as developed and as used, and the surrounding areas predominantly single-family residentially zoned. Those are all things that you can take into consideration in making a motion. You should make the record complete in the event that the property owner goes further and takes it to court so that there's a clear record made and a vote taken. On the other hand, you are the legislative body of this township, and if you think it's in the best interest of this township to grant the rezoning request, that's your prerogative as well.
Do we have a motion?
Go. I'll make a motion that we deny the request to rezone parcel number 5802-510-00100 located on the west side of Border Street, north side of West Samaria Road, otherwise known as 1430 West Samaria Road, Temperance, Michigan. And we're going to list it due to the current concerns that was submitted in the Planning Commission minutes of public health and safety. Let's continue on. Welfare, public opposition, concerns with sufficient parking on the subject property, and the duplex does not fit the character of the area as the surrounding area is single-family residential zone. I will also throw in there that he can come up and deny all he wants that he wasn't starting on it, but when you put a second meter in, whether it's a miscommunication or not, you were starting something.
And I will support it.
Further discussion? Rudy?
Question to Phil. Do we need to add their names and that it was going from single family to duplex, like in this motion?
Yes, I would prefer that, yes.
We both take that friendly?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I would just like to say in the discussion is that I did look at this property and I felt parking was inadequate I understand the speeding that goes on there because I've had to work on that for 8 years, getting engine brake signs, requesting sheriffs to drive up and down Samaria Road numerous times, semis flying by there. So yes, there is a lot of speeding there. Okay. I also took a look at the structure, and I had some concerns about safety. I also heard, you know, as a buyer of a property, I would be asking beforehand, could I switch this over to a duplex before I'd ever put my money down on the table? So understand, just because you bought it does not mean that we have an obligation to grant a rezoning to fit your needs. Okay? So that's why we take every case by case and take a look at it. So the other thing, too, is that I've worked in this community for a long time. In the building industry, we were told we had to do this, this, and this. So if you're coming up from Maumee, I'm just going to tell you, is that you need to abide by what we do, because for 15 years, some of the builders, they were questioning everything they did, from their entrance sign to what kind of grass you're planting or flowers or whatever in the front of your entranceway. So coming into the community, you just can't say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. There's certain procedures that you have to go through. So I did my homework, and I'm sure the others on this board did their homework as well and understand the situation. So.
I just want to thank the community, the village of Samaria, for coming out. You know, it's interesting that we do have our township planner and our engineers saying, yeah, hey, we recommend approval. Yet we have the village of Samaria here that actually lives in the community saying otherwise, that it doesn't work for them. And so for me, as a trustee looking through everything, I'd much rather put my trust in the community, of the neighbors, of the people that live there, than, you know, the township planners or the Manick and Smith group, nothing against them, who may not live in this area or in the township at all. So, you know, you guys showing up makes a difference. I appreciate you guys being here. So thank you.
Further discussion? Hershberger, can you take the roll, please?
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Ms. Janasek?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Hershberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries. Okay. And now we're moving on to 8D. Request to rezone a 1.485 portion of parcel number 5802-031-004-00, 10 acres, from R2B single family residential to C1 local commercial, located on the west side of Secor Road, south of Quail Hollow Drive. Is a representative here?
Didn't see him.
Okay.
I don't see the representative here. Yeah, so trying to go from residential to commercial. I think we stated, and I don't think it can be overstated enough, this has whatever commercial property is presented as being what would be going in there is irrelevant. That this board and the Planning Commission, that we're not deciding whether or not Bedford needs Dunkin' Donuts or anything else. If this was you always have the people chime in that we don't need another dollar store or that kind of thing. It's like, well, if that's zoned a certain way and a company wants to go in there and put something that, if this was zoned C1, Dunkin' Donuts is in there. They didn't have to come before this board, anything. It doesn't, so that does not matter. That's not what we're deciding. We're looking at this. Does this board want to rezone this from residential to C1 commercial? Manick and Smith gave it a thumbs down. Planning Commission gave it a thumbs down. I don't see the applicant, so I don't know if there's any other questions.
Any questions?
No, I'll just say that after the vote tonight and the motion, if I make it, I'm going to be disowned by my kids because I live about a half mile from there, okay? I live off of Secor Road, and I'm up and down there every day. I've seen the garbage. I've seen all that. My kids ask me all the time, can we ride our bikes down to Burger King? And I'm like, no, You are not riding a bike down Secor Road. That's not going to happen. We don't have sidewalks. We're congested already. We're just about getting ready into the time frame when all of our folks on bikes with bags of bottles are going to be coming down Secor Road and everything like that. So they were like, yeah, Dad, we want the Dunkin' Donuts. I'm like, well, great. I don't. I do, but not right there. So, yeah, so I'm in a conundrum, but my vote will be no to rezone it tonight.
I'm the same, Al. It's the same with me. It's not that we don't want a Dunkin' or Baskin Robbins, just not there. There's plenty of empty commercial spaces available. That location is already bad enough to stick another business there. It's just not.
Yeah, it's not feasible.
Yeah, I'm real familiar with that property. Those who live in the Deer Run condos and Deer Creek, we built your condos and your house, so I know every one of your units and your houses. Some of you are second, maybe be third owners, okay? I know what the vision was when my father-in-law built those. We put in conservation easements. We took a look at what was going to make the community better, all right? So that's what we always took a look at. Yes, you are going to have residential with commercial, but you have to mix that properly, all right? And if you go to some other places, and I've traveled throughout the country, you can see where that happens, okay? They can survive together. However, the Archdiocese has owned that property for a long time. They knew it was residential when they purchased it, okay? So what was their vision? It's been there for years, all right? I have nothing against Dunkin' Donuts or Baskin Robbins or whatever, but I take a look at a 10-acre parcel there that now has become a prime piece of property. And I know what will probably happen is if we were to split this off for an acre or acre and a half or whatever, all right, that'd be fine. But then what's going to happen is down the road, that developer is going to come back. What will probably most likely happen, it'll be like, well, now I only have about 8 acres of residential property left. I can't do much except maybe go upwards or do some very high density apartments or whatever. But if I come back and I split up the rest of the property, those properties could be easily worth about $500,000. Okay, so now we go from maybe selling a property that was $1 million to $4.5 million. So that's where I struggle with this whole thing. I just don't think that splitting off a piece of that property is the right thing to do. They could go across the street to Mercy. They own it. They could get that. It's right next door to commercial. There are some other spots within that area. But I think what we have to really keep in mind is that we always have to keep some sort of vision. I think that's what this board is trying to do, is to say we're not against businesses. However, where does that fit in? So that's kind of how I look at things. And I look at that area, and my father-in-law did name those 2 subdivisions after deer because there's still deer out there. So. We have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Before you do, Joe,
yeah.
Again, if the board is inclined to follow the recommendation of the Planning Commission to deny the requested rezoning,
put in there
exactly from the reasons cited by the Planning Commission after they held the public hearing, support the record. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to deny the request to rezone 1.485 portion of parcel number 5802-031-001-00, 10 acres, from R2B single family residential to C1 local commercial located on the west side of Secor Road south of Quail Hollow for the reasons listed in the Planning Commission's denial after they held a public meeting, with inconsistency with the township master plan and adverse impact to nearby residential use, lack of proper land use transition, negative traffic impacts, and there is sufficient commercially zoned land elsewhere.
Would you mind making part of your motion to incorporate by reference the full text of the meeting minutes of the Planning Commission where they made a recommendation to deny
I
the.
will absolutely do that unless you want me to read the whole thing.
Part of your motion to incorporate it by reference.
Yes, I accept that.
It is part of the
No name
public
on
record.
here. It's in their minutes, and their, yeah, it's not on our rezoning.
Okay.
And we'll add the names of the owners.
Support.
Any further discussion? Ms. Hirschberger, please take the roll.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Janasek?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to 8E, approve recommendation from Library Advisory Board for kitchen remodel in community room. Come on up. Come on, Harry, don't be shy.
Harry Lambers, 8046 Timberwood Lane, Temperance. I have the honor of being the president of the Library Advisory Board, so nobody clap, please. The existing kitchenette is not very conducive for people using it as far as caterers is concerned and that. And so we're looking at replacing the cabinets and adding warming stations to warm the food for the caterers, and also cutting a hole in the wall so that the food can be passed from the kitchenette into the community room itself. The room is used by numbers of people, and it can also be rented out for food, for meetings and etc. So the idea was, after looking at it, we decided that this was a good way to go, just to cut a hole in the wall, put a sliding door in there, and let the people use it more efficiently. That's about it.
Can we bring Jody up for a second?
Pardon?
Hiding behind Harry.
Oh.
Yeah.
You'll probably be able to hear me in the microphone, too.
I didn't mean to stand behind you. In front of you.
Did you have a question?
I do. How many events do we have at the library every year?
How many events do we have at the library every year?
In that room.
Oh, in that room. I can confidently say we're using that room at least 5 days out of the 7 days that we're open, and many of those days it's more than once a day. So I don't have a total of the number of events, but that's a lot of events. We have multiple groups that use that room. The Bedford Flower and Garden Group meet in there once a month. Many homeowners associations meet in there. We actually rent it out through the township for $250 for people to rent, which I see is now cheaper than the park buildings. It used to be the same price. It's a nicer room too. There have been twice as many rentals in the last fiscal year as there have been in any year since I've been there. So that's nice. People are using it for showers. It's a great venue for showers, birthday parties, especially the first birthday. We get a lot of first birthday parties happening in there because you want to invite everybody to that one. So, yeah, is that enough? Is it?
I think so.
Yeah. Question. So no cooking will be going on in this kitchen. There's no health code violations or inspections that are going to need to be,
Correct. There's no stove. We're not asking for any kind of a stove or any kind of a cooking device other than there is a microwave to warm things and a warming oven, which is similar to a pizza, if you ever go to Little Caesars and get the instant pizzas, they're in a warming oven. Hopefully you don't do that very often, but so that's all and a refrigerator. And then replacement of the sink is one of the things Harry didn't mention. The sink that's in there right now is not very conducive to washing larger types of dishes that are similar to what is used in there for feeding groups of people.
Any questions of Helen or Dee? Did you want to add anything, or?
I'll put my 2 cents in. I have been volunteering for programs at the library for 20 years now, and I have been using that room a lot with the programs. That kitchen area is awfully small. It's dated. It does need to be expanded. It's tight in there if you're trying to do like a Santa breakfast. You don't have much room. I've rented it out for a graduation party, that room. It was excellent for that. I've had people that I know rent it out for showers, so it does, even by word of mouth, you get people to rent it, and they seem very satisfied with it. It just needs to be, the kitchen area does need to be expanded.
And this was budgeted in. We had this a line item for the.
Yes, it was before.
Right here.
I can show the public.
Mhm.
I can read. I want the public.
Right.
Put in the motion.
Yes, we did it. The thing is when you look at the library, you can't look at libraries anymore as just the library because they do so much more over there. There's been, what Jody didn't tell you, there's been concerts in there. So it's all kinds of different events. And a lot of times people would like to bring their own caterer, and if you had seen the kitchen, it's just not really conducive for that. Also, it's not ADA accessible as well. This will be ADA accessible. So in terms, we did a lot of study on this. Harry did, I did. We brought in several other people to take a look at it to say, hey, what would be best in this space? So that's what we're doing. And I wish that community room was even bigger because we really don't have anything in Bedford that really is like a community room like that. So that room is used an awful lot. And if you haven't been to the library lately, I would tell you to go there because it's a pretty neat place. When you go in the back, we got musical instruments for kids. They can bang on it. If you got grandkids or whatever, my grandkid goes over there. He'll spend a couple hours just banging on those instruments. So we use the library quite a bit.
If you need a computer, go there.
Yeah.
We got a number of computer stations set up.
Any other questions of the Library Advisory Board? We also appreciate your service.
Enjoy it.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion?
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the recommendation for the Library Advisory Board for kitchen remodel using Davison Building and Development in the amount of $42,025. This is already a line item in the library fund budget for this fiscal year in the capital outlay for the kitchen remodel.
Support.
Any further discussion? I just want to add, we did sit down and review the contractors too, in terms of what they could do and not do as well. So we were pleased with Ken, with Davison. So, any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Hirschberger, take the roll.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries. We can start the work. Okay, we've got 8F, approve the permit for the June 2025 fireworks display. Have any questions on that, or something we do every year?
Yeah.
Can I get a motion?
Go ahead.
All right.
No one from the park board's even here. It's freaking ridiculous.
I'll make a motion.
Josh Niederkorsi.
Oh, Josh is here.
Well, why don't you get up, Josh?
We don't need him. We're good. I'll make a motion that we approve the permit for the June 2025 firework display at Bedford High School, 8285 Jackman Road, Temperance, Michigan. And it looks like it'll be put on by Ace Pyro LLC out of Saline, Michigan.
Support.
Discussion? Josh, I got a question. Is this the same company we used last year?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And are they adhering to their price? Because last year they kind of upped it, I think, wasn't it, Trudy, or something we had where they...
I haven't received any notice as far as the price increase, just from talking to Andrew, the chair. It's supposed to be the same as it was last year, so nothing crazy going on.
Okay.
I think when we looked at it, they upped it. Last year it was upped. And this year when we were looking at it, it looks like the display is a little bit smaller than it was.
Mm-hmm. Smaller this year than last year?
Wait, so they upped it last year, and now the display has gone down and still stayed at that?
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
But this is the last year we're under contract with them.
Right.
We can bid it out for next year.
I think we should. And then next year's also the 250th anniversary, so we need to do something pretty big for next year as well.
So an issue that's more important to me that I appreciate Trudy for, and she does a great job, is insurance. And she always makes sure there's adequate liability insurance for this event because size of the display is great, but I want to make sure the township is covered from a liability perspective, and she always does her homework and makes sure we're protected.
Great. Any further questions of Josh? I believe we had a motion and a second. You can take the roll, Ms. Hirschberger.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisuk?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome.
On to 8G. This is in regards to closing Township Hall this Friday. This is the first weekend for Michigan Ganders to start their summer. We usually experience virtually like no traffic on the Friday before Memorial Day. The employees would be using their own vacation time, personal time, and so on. I'd like to close the hall at 12 noon. We don't have any passports coming in or anything after that. So, any questions or? Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to close Township Hall this Friday at 12 p.m. I don't know what that date is. Do we need to add the date?
5/23.
5/23.
We add anything else to it, Phil?
That they use their own time.
And that they use their own personal time.
Support.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Hirschberger, take the roll.
Mr. Stump?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Pryor?
Aye, motion carries. Number 9 are comments from the public. Comments limited to 2 minutes for each individual.
Josh Dienercore, 7948 Wiseman Road, Lambertville, with the Park Board. I did not know that they reduced the amount of fireworks for the higher price that they upped last year. So I'll talk to Andrew and have him talk to the company and see what's going on with that and see if we can get anything straightened out with that. So thanks for letting me know about that.
You can bring some of your own, Josh. Fireworks. Whoops, getting in trouble.
Jody Russ, 1273 Winding Way. I just wanted to let everybody know that the library is actually going to be closed on both Sunday and Monday for the holiday. We are open on Sundays all year round, with the exception of if Easter Sunday we're closed, the Sunday before Memorial Day, and the Sunday before Labor Day. So those are the only 3 Sundays we are closed, but every other Sunday we're open from 12 to 5. So I just wanted to let people know that. Thank you.
Further comments?
Lamar Frederick, 3254 Deer Creek Drive. I'm here really just to hear 3 different things. One, with respect to the library now having a new cafeteria, we get a book and a cookie? Sure. I was really interested in what you were going to do with the zoning requests, and I think you did the right thing, clearly. Number 2, asking for split zoning. We've got it in this township now, and it's a disaster. We have people along Smith Road who have residential in front, and they have industrial in the back. this makes no sense to split property and to start split zoning on something like that. Back to the library, I hope it all works well. We're going to have cooking classes or something that we can sign up. Thank you.
Kent Goldsmith, 1465. I already introduced myself. Don't get in here too often, so just wanted to speak for our community because there was a lot of discussion between me and the other constituents, I guess you'd call them, coming in here. But we don't take lightly who we vote for. We look at the integrity of the people that we vote for on this board, and we know that you represent us as a community and not people who are trying to come in and do certain things. So we really take into consideration and appreciate every single one of you. And this is a prime example of why we do that. So thank you very much from all of us. Yeah.
Gail Kane, Temperance. I will agree with all that. I did want to make another comment since I tend to play devil's advocate for everybody. We've got the master plan coming up. And again, within the planning area, there's concerns that due to the number of residents, the survey's not going to be mailed out. I don't know why they can't consider mailing per households versus residents. But again, people need to understand a person has a right. I've been lectured this for the 50 years I've lived here and opposed all the growth, the urban sprawl. The master plan is liquid and fluid and it gets to change. And the people that own properties have a right to try to get their properties to be what they want them to be, whether it go through a rezoning or whether they sell it to somebody else. Mr. Peroni used to always say, if you like the view, buy it. It's very concerning the directions the township has gone in the 50 years. We've got to look at the timing of the public input for this master plan. And again, everything's on the township page. Read the planning minutes, go over everything. I did an awful lot of homework this week trying to catch up and make sense of everything that was said and not done, or done and not said. And we've got a whole lot of people that come into play with all this. So I appreciate everything, and the Adopt a Road program could use some more sponsors. I have Mr. Weaver has his small little section, but I'm hoping to find some other people to help with that area. And don't worry about next year because the DDA wants to take charge of the fireworks for the township. So that's what they're working on. So thank you much.
Any further comments? Mr. Stump.
A few things. This is the first time that I've had a childhood friend come up and speak at the podium, and I'm not going to lie, I got a little worried there about what he might say. He's got some stories, but I just appreciate everybody coming out here speaking to what they think is best for their community. In the village of Samaria, we have pretty unique Temperance, Lambertville, Samaria, and then Bedford Township, and each one is a little unique. The master plan survey, hoping that we can get that out to as many people as possible. I'm not going to steal Trudy's thunder. I know she's got information on that, so I'll let her take that one. On a little bit of a more serious note, for those prayer warriors out there, people who believe in prayer, I would ask that you just say a prayer for my father that has a procedure on Friday. It looks good, but prayers are appreciated. On a lighter note, my son took his first 4 steps yesterday. That was pretty cool. Mind-blowing to see the process and the development process there. Other than that, have a happy Memorial Day weekend, and hopefully we have some nice weather coming up here. So that's it.
The kid have cleats on and his helmet that says U of M or what?
Not yet.
Okay, getting there.
Getting there.
Mr. Bruni.
Everyone have a good night, good weekend. Have a safe Memorial weekend. Just plan accordingly. Thanks.
Mr. Gore.
Josh, congrats on the baby taking his first 4 steps, but like all the parents out here, you're like, you have no idea what that means. Okay? You have no idea what you're in for with that now. Yep. You're going to be like, wait a minute, let's go back to not walking.
Yeah.
All right. And thanks for everybody for coming out. This is what we need. We need community input. We listen to the community. We listen to our constituents. We reach out, and people reach out to us. So thank you very much for everybody for coming out. I've worked a lot down here. I've been through Samaria almost on a daily basis recently. So I know what the traffic's like. So we heard you. You had our full support. We got your back. All right. For those of you traveling this Memorial Weekend, please travel safely. 32 years in law enforcement, and Phil can contest to this, being in law enforcement all those years. Working the holidays was rough. It was, because there's so much traffic on the road. We handle a lot of accidents, especially this is the first one kicking off the summer. So please, if you're traveling on the roads, be safe. And that's it.
Mr. Montry.
Again, appreciate everybody coming out here. A few times this group has been up in here for these couple of issues. Walk for Life is this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Up in Monroe at the SMC Gymnasium, which is 108 West Elm Avenue in Monroe, Michigan. That's something that South County typically does not do a good job at participating in. If you are interested opposing the murder of the unborn in this country, Monroe does they do this Walk for Life, and they've asked for, Bedford doesn't get out and go up north and come participate in these events, so I just wanted to put that out there.
Ms. Chandasak.
Just everybody have a great rest of your evening, a nice rest of your week, and a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend.
Ms. Hirschberger.
Township Hall will be closed on Monday, May 26th to observe Memorial Day. Please remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Lambertville Cemetery Memorial Day ceremony will take place on Monday, May 26th. The Lambertville VFW Post 9656 and the Temperance American Legion Post 192 will march in approximately 11:30. The ceremony will start at noon. If you haven't completed the master plan survey, please do so by June 13th at 5 o'clock. The survey is on the township website. It will be in the newsletter, which you should receive sometime the first week of June. As of today, we have received over 475 responses, and Jody doesn't know this sitting in the back room, but we're going to try and get some paper copies of that, put them at the township hall, put some at the library. Josh asked if we could take some to the senior center. We could do that to get more input from residents, but please fill out that survey. We will have workshops coming up. Urge the community to come to those workshops so we can get your input. I know I did a master plan 10 years ago. We didn't get a lot of residents coming to those workshops. It was the same people who come to everything. They were on a board or they were on a commission. But if we don't get the citizens' input, we can't develop what you are looking for. So that's all I have.
Great. I'd first like to say, Memorial Day is special. It started after the Civil War. And it's been carried on all these years. So, again, to those that have given their life for this country, we appreciate that. The other thing, the roundabout is coming. So there's going to be some meetings coming up here shortly. So that project will be taking off. So it's been a long haul. So the parks, we are working hard on the parks. We're trying to make improvements. We're looking at things that need to be fixed. It's not always easy, because when we deal with these, in terms like the swing sets and all the things that are in the parks, a lot of those, they're 20 years old. We can't just go down to the hardware store and buy parts. We have to go to a one-source supplier, because they have to meet certain certifications. So we're working on it. So car park, we hopefully are going to be getting some bids out for that by next week. And same way with the water fountains. We worked hard, Pat Thatcher worked with our building inspector and so on to find a different way to hook them up for our drinking fountains. So that's being worked on. The other thing that we're taking a look at, when you go out in the front of the building by the Sheriff's Department, you'll see some monuments. Those are not permanent monuments. Those are displays. If you guys want to look at what we're going to do.
We were asking Hooper.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah,
I
so
don't know.
it's kind of showing like what he can do because we're in the process of designing something for the Sheriff's Department. Troy looked at it, and we'll give you some final designs that the board can take a look at. The veterans are looking at it because this guy can do just about anything in terms of like that Michigan thing and so on. So we just wanted to look at his quality and see, are we on the right track? So if you take a look at them, let me know if you got some ideas and so on. So that's happening. The other thing that was mentioned, I do sit on the DDA board. They are not taking over the fireworks. Matter of fact, what they want to do is a drone show over in the Lambertville side because there's no place to blow off fireworks. You looked, we're not doing it. So, but next year they're going to be looking at a drone show, which would be kind of neat because I think it can be seen from like several miles away. And those you can launch at a lot of other locations. So we have that going on, which is pretty neat. As for Mr. Weaver, I know you are an ex-teacher, so I have to give you a lesson now. Bedford was formed in 1836 when we broke away from Erie Township. Now, we wanted to keep Erie, but we thought we would leave it to them. So here we are. Did you? No kidding. That's great.
Al, were you there?
Yeah, was I there? Yeah.
But I do have the minutes if you'd like to look at
Yeah,
them.
Trudy's got the minutes to that meeting. She'll find it. So, yeah. So, again, I appreciate everybody coming out, expressing their opinions. Any further discussion? I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.
Get to a soccer game.